Welcome to FOBtv, the future of business. I'm your host, Kevin Benedict. I want to thank each of you for joining us today. I'm very excited to introduce today's guest, Nigel Willson. Nigel, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, Kevin, and good to see you again.
Absolutely. Nigel and I have met many times at different events around the world, I think in the UK and other places. Anyway, Nigel, why don't you give us a little bit of background on what you're up to and what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. Well, like you say, Kevin, we know each other from old, but for those people listening, so I've been in the tech industry perhaps too long to count, but last 20 years at Microsoft, a number of different jobs. My last job, I was the European CTO for professional services, so working with the professional services guys and kind of really advising on tech strategy, innovation, and a lot of that kind of was around artificial intelligence. End of last year, I decided I needed a bit of a change, and I also wanted to have a bit more perhaps of an independent voice. So I left Microsoft under great circumstances, just to really pursue my career as an independent speaker, advisor, and influencer. On the influencing side, I'm absolutely honored to be one of the top global influencers on AI and cloud and near future technologies. So, and I guess the topic that we're going to talk about is I've also recently joined We and AI as a co-founder.
Yeah, so why don't you give us an introduction to We and AI?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so the organisations are not for profit, and we're focused on increasing public awareness and understanding of the risks and of the rewards of using artificial intelligence. And this is kind of mainly based in the UK. And the reason that it's kind of UK focused is there's similar initiatives kind of globally, like AI for All in the US. And some initiatives in Europe, but there's nothing that was really focused on a UK audience. So that's initially where we're focusing. Staffed by volunteers, started at the beginning of this year, and I joined just in April as a co-founder. And as I say, initially, our aim is to increase and raise public awareness across a really broad and diverse set of people. And we're going to do that through a number of mechanisms. We've got a website, as you would expect, and we've got a quiz on our website. And the quiz is around seeing if people can detect whether there is AI or not in everyday things. And the idea behind it is to give them a bit of a fun experience and also help us with a bit of research in terms of what people's level of understanding on AI is at the moment.
So talk to us about that, Nigel. Why is there a need for that?
Well, yeah, and that's a great question. So I spent many years talking about kind of AI, and I've been talking about the hype and the reality and some of the challenges. And I guess the more embedded that AI becomes in our lives, the more invisible it's become. And I used to talk often about AI being like the Force in Star Wars. It's kind of all around us. It kind of runs through us. But increasingly, it's making decisions on our behalf. And often kind of without us kind of knowing or without us being able to challenge it. So I guess my remit has changed slightly. I'd like to make the invisible visible. So I'd like to make it transparent, AI transparent to people, not just to technical people, not just to big businesses, but to everyone, so that we have a choice, regardless of our background or where we are, to kind of comment and challenge some of the uses. And really, I joined We and AI to kind of help make that transparent and openness happen. It's often said AI can be a force for good, or it could drive division and disparity. And I want to be as part of this organization to make sure that it's a force of good, for good, and that it's also a force for everyone.
So Nigel, talk to us about how biases get built into AI in the first place.
Yeah, sure. So kind of bias. So we have to kind of start with us as human beings. So we are all biased, whether we kind of like it or not. We have biases that we may be able to identify ourselves, or we have kind of unconscious biases, those biases that kind of come up that have been influenced by our experiences in life and what we see or read in the media. And what happens with artificial intelligence is artificial intelligence itself isn't biased, but what we do is we bring our biases unconsciously sometimes into artificial intelligence, and we may kind of code those biases into it. And when you kind of think about it, computer science and data science is still really dominated by, dare I say, white men of a certain age. And it's that lack of diversity and the lack of equality that can start to appear in the kind of algorithms and the kind of data that we select to run those algorithms on. So one of the things that we're aiming to do is not only increase the interest in AI, but increase the interest in data science and computer science as topic areas to a broader selection of people in the UK as we possibly can. And it's only really by having that broad selection and diverse set of people developing the algorithms and kind of working on the solutions that we can get, even close to solving some of these challenges that we have around bias.
Oh yeah, I can envision a giant warehouse-sized room full of programmers, and everybody's just trying to code, an algorithm to get from point A to point B, but they don't always stop and wonder why they're doing what they're doing. And yes, they can get a result, but what is behind that result? Sometimes that's above their pay grade, but I think that's certainly a valid area to really peel it back and look at what are the rules and why are the rules made that way and who created those rules and controlled those rules.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess there's some great kind of examples of kind of where that may kind of go wrong. So one of the websites I like is around kind of big fan of photography, and through my kind of granddad got lots of black and white pictures, and there's a website you can go to and you can upload a black and white picture, and using artificial intelligence it'll turn it into color. And it uses some kind of deep learning algorithms in order to do that. What you tend to find is if there are a number of people in the picture, the kind of grass is green and the sky is blue as you would expect, but the clothes that the people wear are predominantly blue. And the reason that has happened is because the algorithm and the data set they use to train against, a lot of the people were wearing blue clothing. So that's a kind of an example of how bias can kind of be built into something. In that instance, there's no great impact from it. But earlier on this week, there was it was a university in the US kind of announced that they could get 80% accuracy on whether somebody was likely to commit a crime from their facial expression. And quite quickly, the press release and the kind of tweets and everything were kind of taken down, because that's kind of quite a controversial thing to say. But one of the challenges that could come from that is which data set or what data set did they use to train? And if you take my example of the kind of black and white pictures being turned into color, if they use the wrong data set, then inherently they could have bias built into that algorithm. And that's the kind of thing that we really need to make everybody aware of. And kind of help maybe change the perspective of some of those people that are developing the algorithms by building in the diversity into it.
So Nigel, I can think that some people listening today may think that's all futuristic kinds of stuff we're talking about and problems we have to solve when we get there in the future. But talk to us about some current problems that might be out there right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an interesting thought, isn't it, that this is all in the future? And one of the things that we've talked about before when we've chatted, Kevin, is about the exponential change in technology, and how about we kind of live in this time now where technology is kind of starting to design and develop the next generations of technology, and we get this kind of exponential curve. And the challenges that we have are that our regulations and the controls that we have over it are not growing at a rate that the technology is growing. So we can see it as kind of being futuristic, but actually it's not. The technology is kind of developing at a fair rate of kind of speed, but the regulations and kind of the way that we handle controls on it aren't. So that's another concern. And really what we need to make sure is there's some sort of parity between those two things. I mean, one of the examples that kind of came up recently, which shows how technology and regulation gets out of step, was there was something with Strava where, as you may know, you can record your runs and your cycles and things like that. as you also may know, that there are part of Google Maps that are kind of blurred out for areas that are considered to be kind of confidential, or might have military sites. Strava published all of their data, and what you could clearly see on it is where all people in the armed forces were running around their bases as they were going for a run. Not only could you see that, you could see where they were running back into the base, so you could see where the entrance was. So it's an example of how the technology is fantastic, but nobody thought through the fact that actually making public some of this data is going to expose somebody to a security risk. So we're not always going to get it right, but we really need to consider kind of where we're going with some of these technologies and consider the impact of them. And this isn't kind of future stuff, this is kind of here and now stuff.
Oh yeah, and when I think about everything from chat bots to all the different uses of automated scripts and even text-based and SMS-based chat bots and things, that's all artificial intelligence running, and more of our interactions are happening using these digital environments. So that means more and more, there's more opportunity for misunderstandings, inequality, unfairness, all that to be built into our day-to-day interactions. And I don't think that's going away anytime soon.
No, it isn't. And I guess, one of the reasons that our organization, We in AI, was started was to inform more people. So those challenges aren't going to go away, but some of those challenges are hidden from the vast majority of people. As kind of people in the technology space, we're kind of aware of it and we kind of read about it on a daily basis. But the majority of people out there don't know that some of these things are going on. And while we don't want to kind of encourage a whole bunch of activists, at the same time, we need to help inform people so that if they have an issue with it, that they can raise it. I think as technologists, we get excited about the technology, quite rightly so, with some of it. But at the same time, we need to make sure that the people that are going to be, the recipients of this technology get a say in how it's used, how the data's used, their privacy, and a lot of the things that sometimes we don't give full consideration to.
So is the role of We and AI an educational type role, or do you guys have recommendations and advice on how to approach AI?
Yeah, so it's kind of all of the above, really. So in the first instance, it's definitely around kind of education and awareness. I kind of like to use kind of informing rather than educating, because what we're trying to do is help people make informed decisions. And the kind of people that we're targeting are those in the community, the kind of diverse set of people, those that maybe are less fortunate and don't get, to kind of have their voice heard as much. So it's around community education, but also that might be kind of businesses as well, because a lot of small, medium businesses and large businesses are starting to consider the ethical use of AI and where AI bias can come in. And although they know, they've kind of heard the terms, they don't really know where to start. So broad education, absolutely, but also working with businesses to help them understand the impact of some of the decisions that they may be making in their use of kind of AI. The other thing is we're kind of working with research bodies as well, so interested in contributing to research, but also starting our own research strands as well, just to really kind of get on top of what the latest thinking is around kind of AI and being able to kind of bring it to the masses, I guess, is the thing.
Oh yeah, I've had the opportunity to buy and sell a few houses. Nowadays, so much of that is not between you and the person in front of you. All the decisions and all the different numbers and everything that happens is AI driven in the background. So I can see as more and more of just our normal lives end up in databases with algorithms and AI involved, there's the opportunity for good or for bad in all of that has a real personal impact on each of us.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, absolutely.
So Nige, talk to me about how people can get involved in the organization We and AI.
Yeah, so as we kind of discussed, we're kind of a UK kind of based organization, but so we've got, as you would expect, a website, which is weinai.org. We're also on Twitter at the same handle, We in AI, and on LinkedIn. So they can get involved by going to the website and taking the quiz. It's a bit of fun, but also at the end of it, it kind of helps us with research. We're always looking for volunteers. We're a volunteer-based organisation, so people that are willing to volunteer their time, and that could come from technology, could come from anywhere. We're around diversity, so the more diverse the set of people that we have volunteering, the kind of more helpful it is to the kind of outcomes. So always looking for new affiliations and partnerships as well. And just like-minded people. So I would say the start point is kind of Twitter and the website, and hopefully people will take it from there.
Nigel, I want to thank you so much for sharing your insights and give us the background of We and AI, and for your contributions to just try to help this technology evolve in a way that's for the common good. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin. A pleasure as always, and hope to speak to you again soon. So stay safe, everybody.
Thank you.